Okay.
Okay, here we are again with the Kelp4less podcast. Harley Smith on one side, the organic mechanic on the other side. And we know Harley just got back from the Giant Pumpkin Growers Association big convention in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I'm excited to hear how that went. Kind of what your thoughts, what was your overall take of that conference?
Uh, it was great. I love the giant pumpkin growers. I really do. There are my kind of people. They really want to try to take it to the limit and beyond, which is good. You know, and they're willing to work with science. They're willing to listen to advice, and they're willing to put it into practice and do their own experiments. So to get the results. So I'm really happy. Everybody has their own little take on it, which is good too. That's part of the challenge, part of the hobby. But I really did enjoy myself, and I was just constantly being asked questions all from the time I got there to the time I left.
Hey, what's one of the common questions, people ask you, the question that comes up over and over and over again? Just
Well,
curious.
yeah, where can I buy these biostimulants? That's one of the big ones. Where can I find them? And that was an
Oh,
easy one because of my good friend Brandon in Kelp4less.
no,
So I
thank you.
said, that's a good place to start. Start there because they have everything you need. And then after there, if they want to shop around, they want to, try something that somebody else recommended. Hey, that's their prerogative as growers. But at least it's a good start. I said I can highly recommend the quality. Brandon's a good person. They're good people over there. They'll give you some advice. So without reservations, I'd highly recommend them to get some of their at least their initial inputs.
Yeah, thanks for that. No, we appreciate that. We have on our online store like over 200 ingredients too. So
Oh,
we got a lot of hard to find things. And but no, thanks for that. We appreciate that. And yeah, we've developed some really good relationships with a lot of those growers that have been with Kelp4less for 20 years. And so
mm,
we really appreciate their support and patronage. And but that's interesting. That's the number one question. I, I, and I think in that giant pumpkin growing world, like you talked about, they're always trying to push. They're always trying to push. Always trying to push. And uh, there's so many things working together at the same time.
mhm.
And I always get asked, what am I missing? What's the silver bullet? What's going to do this? What's going to do that? The answer is no, there's not one. A combination of
Mhm.
everything. But I always tell them, your hard work, man. These guys work hard. I mean, the dedication and devotion that they put into that is stunning. Absolutely amazing. So I'm glad they had a chance to hear you speak, and I'm sure
Mhm.
they listened, they learned a lot. So thanks for doing that. That was neat.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it, and yeah, I did an hour presentation on organic biostimulants, and like I said, I've got some good feedback too. I've already been getting emails this week. Not just about where do I get products, but just saying thank you and I've been
Hmm.
following you and I'm trying to do better this year and that kind of thing. So it's kind of nice to hear back from people too that they're getting something out of it. And I did, the one grower that's kind of interesting that won first place in the state of Wisconsin last year in
Yeah.
2024. He told me that his what he believes is his secret, although it's not a secret anymore because I asked him when I was doing the presentation. I said, "Okay, if I share this?" And he said, "Go ahead." But he said that he was using amino acids. He's been using those more than the minimum dose, and he ended up getting a pumpkin that was about 2,500 pounds, one piece of fruit with that. So yeah, but he was overdoing it a little bit, and that was another question I got from the audience: is it possible to overdo it? And the answer is yes. You can always overdo it if you're not careful. But when you're getting into some of the organics, you you know they break down in the environment. So it's not like you're going to burn the plants, but you'd be wasting money if you give them more than what they need.
Good point. We tell our customers that all the time. They always ask, well, especially with inoculants, like, can I apply more? You can apply more if you want. It's not going to hurt anything. The only thing that's going to hurt your pocketbook, and you'll have less down the road when you want to keep applying it frequently. But yeah, it's comes a point where you're just throwing money away, in our opinion. Uh, everybody has their own methods and things like that. And
Hmm.
but if it's working, don't change. Just try to keep develop. Pushing the program, develop it. Just keep developing. We never stop learning. I never stop learning. And
Right.
the pumpkin guys, they've taught me a lot of their cultural practices, and wow, I mean, just unbelievable dedication to what they do. So that is exciting, man. I bet they were happy to have you. I wish I could have been there. The next one I understand is in Salt Lake City, Utah. So that's a little bit closer for me to travel to.
Yeah.
So they've already contacted us because of you did such a fabulous job there. They've already contacted our office asking if we wanted to participate in the Salt Lake City one. So
Hmm.
make it
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, maybe next time you can take the trip. It's shorter, and um,
Yeah.
and you can you know share the glory. Talk because you and I we're on the same. We've been on the same page for the last 20 years ourselves, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah,
we're not
that's right.
going to be getting. That's one thing I don't appreciate about the industry, not the pumpkin industry, but the hydroponics and our industry, is that a lot of times people give contradictory advice because it's all just opinions and hearsay. And that's one of the worst things because that can confuse growers. Well, he said this. The
Mhm.
other person said, no, don't do that, do this. Well, they said, no, don't do that, do this. So that's one of the reasons over the years, I've contributed little success I've had is to just sticking with the science, sticking about the needs of the plant. So I tend to be a little bit on the conservative side. I don't like making, you know, crazy, claims. Oh, you're going to see that.
Mhm.
Oh, if you use this, you're going to see that. I'd rather underestimate what they're going to see a little bit. I know it's going to work. Because it's just science. Um, but then if they get better results than what they expected, then they're happy.
Yeah.
But if I say, oh yeah, you do this, you'll get another, 300 pounds on your pumpkin. That's crazy because even if you do everything right, sometimes nature just throws you a curveball.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, knowledge is always the king. You can't stop learning and do practical scientific, formulations and feed regimens and things like that. And as a matter of fact, me and you were mentioned on another podcast called On Top of Organics. And so uh, that'll be interesting to see when that comes out. I'll forward it to you and you can listen to that. But I
Mhm.
told them I'll promote them on ours because they promoted us on theirs. And so anyway, I think our balance we're we're in the same but kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. But we
Mhm.
can we can both do back and forth. Your expertise is here, mine's here, but it blends together well because it takes both sides.
Mhm. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely. I think we've been a good team. This is episode number 71, by the way. 71 podcasts.
71. Wow, 71 podcasts. That that'd take a long time to start at episode one and work your way up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's people that have been watching them.
Oh yeah,
There's this
yeah,
happening. They're out there.
absolutely.
I don't know. Are you able to keep track of the views
Mhm.
or we do? Okay.
Yeah,
There's some that.
absolutely. Yeah, as soon as Brody loads them on there, and we have quite a few we still need to load on there. We've just been
Mhm.
tied up doing everything, but every time we load a new one, we get comments like, "Oh, thank you. I had to wait, so long for the next episode." Like, yeah, our viewers appreciate the content, and and that's good. That's all we want to do is maybe help them along, help them get better. And
Hmm.
really, we're just offering up, selfless knowledge, just trying to throw out there what we've experienced and we've learned, and they do appreciate it. So yeah, we get a lot of comments every time we get one on.
Yeah. Yeah, my class tonight is one of my favorite lectures. I'm going to be talking about biohydroponics. This is class number 11 out of 12 in the Master Grower Short Course. In this one, we're talking about the minerals at the hydroponics part and the biostimulants, the biology part, and combining the two. And I'm going to give them some of my secrets, things I learned when I developed my very first biohydroponic fertilizers for commercial growers tonight. And I like it to save this toward the end because we've talked about biostimulants, we've talked about precision fertilizer management, we've talked about all these different topics. But when I put them together tonight, I'm hoping they'll see some of this in a new light. Some of the things that might have gone over their head the first time, maybe this time they go, oh, aha, okay, so that's why. And I get to talk to them about the progress I've made over the years, where I started with as a purist, just with the essential elements in hydroponics, and then I grew over time when I saw that the benefit of the microorganisms, how the two of the plants and microbes have co-evolved, and then by seeing those two sides of the story, I said, well, what's the bridge? What brings the two together? And most of the time, it's the biostimulants that do that.
No, absolutely. That just last week, I had a phone call with a fairly large greenhouse grower in the Midwest. He's got about 1 acre, of greenhouse, and he does market vegetables and things like that. And a very smart, very educated, successful grower, and yeah, very well educated. And kind of the same story. He focused so much on the minerals
Mm-hmm.
that he kind of said, I never thought about biology. And so over time, he started getting some soil diseases and some nematode pressure, some nematode problems in his soil. So we had a really good conversation. And he said, I've done everything right. I've used every nematicide that people tell me to do. Now they want me to start sterilizing my soil. And he said, I've never focused on biology. And he was asking, can you help me with my ecosystem? Because some things are getting out of balance. And I'm like, absolutely. You called the right place. Let's see what we can do. Let's start here. Let's start there. We kind of built a program for him. And we're going to see if we can, get his soil more biologically active. So we both know the benefits of doing that, the proper minerals and the proper biology. It's so synergistic, and we really hope we can help his soil move forward. And that ties right into the class you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about with that guy that won the giant pumpkin contest last year. He's overdoing it, in my opinion, with amino acids more than the recommended dose. Okay. But then again, let me just, it's been working, let's try more. But I thought, you know what? Could that be negative? But the thing is, that's food for microorganisms. Remember,
Oh yeah,
microbes need nitrogen and
oh
they
yeah,
need carbon. And the primary nitrogen they'll get is going to be from the amino acids. So some of it's just going to go away, some of it's going to be used by the microbes, and then maybe you just get a little extra microbial action, and that can help. My only The only downside I could see is the potential for the microbes to release too much nitrogen in the ammonium form, or
mm-hmm.
even switch over to nitrate, and that could tend to weaken the plant. But generally speaking, when you're working with nature, working with organics, they take what they like and leave the rest. So,
Yeah,
because the
absolutely.
microorganisms make the digestive enzymes that break down proteins into amino acids. Okay, and
Yeah,
they do that. They don't do that for the plant, Brandon. They do it for them, so they can get harvest and clip off the nitrogen for their needs. It just so happens in the process, they're helping the plant too.
Yeah, they push it hard. I've looked a lot of their soil tests around the country. People that have been doing that for years, if not decades. And oh my goodness, their soil. I mean, they're at maximum levels of every nutrient that we can test in the soil, and yet they still do a full fertility program on the plant. And it's you can't argue with success. That's my. I always tell these guys, I'm like, you know what? This is so out of the realm, of what we're taught and what we do, what we try to do in agriculture. I'd love to have agriculture fields with those levels, of minerals in the soil, and they're successful. They've got this figured out how to push them babies, and boy, they do. It's exciting to watch too during the season.
Mm-hmm.
Really exciting.
Yeah, so you're getting into the busy part of your season, just starting up. The spring is springing this week. It'll be officially
Oh, yeah,
spring. Of course, here in
yeah.
Michigan, it's called winter into spring. It's a transition month, so you
That's what
never
we're
know.
getting here too. Yeah, it snowed yesterday. It's supposed to snow today, and just. But we're getting really busy. Orders are coming in from all over the country, and we're starting to get busy. So, um, thank goodness we need that. Keep the crew going. Keep our customers happy. Keep all that stuff in tune. Let's get those seeds started and those plants planted, and let's have a great year. That's so I'm looking forward to.
Hmm. And I'm with you too. I think for the viewers out there, if I was going to make one recommendation, I'd say get started on the right foot. Now, you talk about that the preparation stage and how important that is. But if you can start out getting good root strike, good establishment of the plant, you get some healthy microbial action. They're waking up in the soil. That's going to have a downstream effect later. If the plant doesn't get good roots to start with, still a few little stringy roots, it's not going to be able to handle the stress as easily early on. So and later on. So yeah, it seems early. It's still March, but
Yeah,
really that's up to me one of the most important parts. Early on and in the heart of the growing season, in the middle of the
that's
summer.
right.
Those two times are
That's
the
right.
most important. In between, they'll find balance.
Yeah, I tell people that our customers all the time. Preparation and opportunity equals good results or luck. Some people call that luck. When preparation and opportunity meet, that's when you get lucky. And the more preparation we do, and we're there when the opportunity arises. The perfect planting day, or doing something right before the rain falls. Be beneficial. That take advantage of those opportunities
Mm-hmm.
to on your garden and plants, especially when you're outdoors. You have to do that, and it just increases your odds for success. So yeah, start off good and take advantage of opportunities when they arise.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a question for you about that. The two times in the season that the do you I know the pumpkin growers do this. They actually start preparing for the next year in the fall. I mean, they're already getting the soil ready for the next
Yeah.
year. So the two times, what would you do, or what would you recommend in general to do very at the very end of the season, maybe after harvest in the
Mhm.
fall, and first thing in the spring when the conditions are right?
Yeah, absolutely. My first thing would always be address your phosphate issues in the fall with organic phosphates. Get that into the soil, get it down. I don't care if you use rock phosphate or whatever, fish bone meal, or just whatever. Address your phosphate needs in the soil, because a lot of that stuff can break down in during warm times of the fall, warm times of the spring. But I think it's very, very beneficial. I really like doing that. Another thing is, if you're liming for pH or sulfur for pH, address that in the fall as well. And then I tell our guys, plant a cover crop. Do a cocktail mix of cover crop. You know, some lagoons and some grasses, and you know, there's all different kinds to do. But just keep the biology going as long as you can, and lightly till that up in the spring, and you know, go forward in planting. So that's what I would address to anybody. Um, you know, the phosphate thing is so important for roots, you know, and new plants to be strong. And a lot of times people want to address that at the time of planting. You know, I'll put some phosphate down, but if you can get that biologically active phosphate in the soil from applying it in the fall, you get that, you know, biologically active in the spring, you're going to be miles ahead with the roots that you spoke of earlier. Number one thing. What do you think that would be? Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, I remember most of my experience with that is in the hydroponics, but I agree
Yeah.
with you. The phosphorus, if what I what I would do early on, first of all, I'm going to add the biostimulants right away. Even I might even soak the seed before I even
Oh, yeah.
plant it. Um, but I want it, as far as the nutrients, I want a little more phosphorus. And I usually do that in the form of monoammonium phosphate
Mm-hmm.
early on, because the phosphorus is the energy element. It energizes the root strike better establishment of the plant. And the ammonium aids with the uptake of the phosphorus. So I'm already have this water soluble. I mean, it's immediately available. It doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be broken down like it would in soil to become available. So, but how that
Yeah.
a 16th of a teaspoon of monoammonium phosphate per gallon, which isn't very much, but I've seen
Mm-mm.
as much as 20% more roots at
Mm-hmm.
transplant when I do that. So if I'm going to spoon feed a little phosphorus early on, and the other time I do it is early flowering, because then you get earlier flowering and more flowering sites. You know, but that's just a tiny, tiny
Exactly.
bit. But in the soil, it's not instantly available like that. You know, it takes time.
Exactly.
It's a
And
lot of time.
and if you're using a lot of organic methods, you know, phosphate is the hardest thing to introduce into an organic program when you need it. So if you wait till your plants, you know, need phosphorus or show a deficiency, it's very, very hard to do that organically. It can be very costly too if it's, you know, a big deficiency. So, yeah, in soil organics, address that. That'll solve you a lot of problems down the road.
Yeah. Well, I
Good
learned too
thinking.
that you can as an organic gardener, you can make monoammonium phosphate. You know, organically. It's just
Hey,
take a cubic yard of manure, add a bag of finely ground rock phosphate, and turn it a few times, like once a month for 3 months, something like that. And it will burn off some of the ammonium, and uh, it gets locked up, and it'll change it into monoammonium phosphate. It's a lot of work, but at least it turns into available phosphorus.
hey, for a home gardener, you should always have a compost pile going somewhere. So, absolutely.
Hmm.
All right. Well, Harley, we've kind of got that time. We're going to have to wrap it up, but another great discussion, just kind of freestyling it. I like it.
Me too. Just having a conversation here with the rest of the world.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
well,
right.
we'll have a good, productive day. Good
Well,
luck,
yeah,
and God bless, and I'll see you next week.
you too. Be smart, garden safe, and let's have a good spring.
Okay. See you later.
Okay.
Bye.
See you. Bye bye.